Guild Wars 2 has a ton of professions, all with their unique specializations, so it might be a bit confusing which one fits your playstyle. Well, don't worry. In this video, we'll go over all professions and their specializations, so you know exactly what to expect. Use the timeline below if you're looking for a specific one, and let's get started. Starting strong with Warrior, a beloved fantasy staple of a powerhouse wielding greatswords, clubs, and smashing through the front line, though in Guild Wars 2 you can also go for a more ranged approach by showing your skills with the bow, for example, and barrage enemies from afar. A true master of arms that is able to wield a plethora of weapons. Heart of Thorns opened up the path for the Berserker. The jungle is a dangerous place, and what better way to blaze through it than with fire. Berserkers learn to wield a torch as a symbol of their burning hatred for Mordremoth and its minions, allowing you to enter a berserk state and devastate your enemies. When Palawa Joko defeated the Sun Spears, the remainder of these warriors broke their spears and reforged their spearheads into daggers. Being called Spellbreakers now, they excel at countering mages, sacrificing raw damage output for quick strikes and battlefield control. They're even able to deflect incoming magic with huge shields to defend their allies and turn the tide of battle. Ganthan Technology has outfitted the warriors with the Gun Saber, merging the best qualities of a sword and a gun. Now known as Bladesworn, their rage and burst skills are replaced with flow, as they focus on balancing their skills more deliberately before emptying a magazine of Echovault munitions into their opponents. Heading into Visions of Eternity, we see the Sun Spears re-emerge after the defeat of Palawa Joko, specializing once more into the Paragon. These legendary warriors of Alona chant motivation, bolstering their allies and debilitating their foes on the battlefield. Their commanding presence alone near enough to assure victory, though they aren't without their own combat prowess. Onwards to Arena and its favorite child, the Guardian, in other games often referred to as a Paladin. Guardians are an amazing profession for beginners and veterans alike, with plenty of damage, survivability, and healing to support allies. Wielding shields and one-handed, two-handed weapons or even staves, they bring a lot of variety to your playstyle, even without going deeper into specializations. Mordremoth's minions quickly overwhelmed the allied fleet rushing into the jungles, so the Guardians had to rethink their strategies. Wielding a longbow now, they aid their allies by laying blessed traps to damage and control their foes, before taking them down with a great burst of damage. When Palawa Joko started rewriting history, the Firebrands stepped up as lorekeepers of the true tales. Firebrands inspire and heal their allies with mantras and tales they've stored in their vast library, in an effort to safeguard knowledge. They can wield an axe in the main hand, using fire and light to burn their foes and support their allies, as this versatile role can deal damage, heal, or support with boons. The Ganthan throne has long been protected by its elite warriors, the Willbender. Willbenders mete out swift judgment. Acting only when needed, they sacrifice the passive bonuses of the Guardian virtues to empower their active abilities. They are versatile adversaries, using their virtues to dart over the battlefield and mete out judgment to any who threaten the Ganthan throne or their allies. Collaboration between Iron and Flame Legion led to the Luminary specialization for the Guardian. Able to harness radiant flame energy, they carry a brazier into battle that imbues their allies with hope due to its protective magic. This brazier powers their radiant forge, giving the Luminary access to a host of light and flame weapons to adapt to the situation on the battlefield. Moving through the mists as we are taking a look at the Revenant. Originally locked behind the Heart of Thorns expansion, you can now also unlock this profession with Path of Fire or the End of Dragons expansion. These warriors channel the power of the mists, calling on the echoes of heroes and villains alike of Tyria's past to aid them in battle. With Mordremoth's threat, the Herald specialization for Revenants learn to commune with the Crystal Dragon Glint, gaining access to the legendary Dragon Stance. Wielding a shield in their offhand, these stalwart defenses stack restorative boons on themselves and their allies, focusing on defense as opposed to offense. Channeling the echo of Kala's Scorchrazor, the legendary char that led the rebellion against the Flame Legion's oppression, the Renegade wields short bows to strike their enemies through the mists. Renegades can call on Kala to issue commands to her warband, dominating the battlefield with high damage while also inspiring their allies. The corrupted assassin Shiro Tagachi was slain by a legendary alliance between the Kurzik hero, Saint Victor Zuhelzer, and Archimerus of the Luxons. I am probably butchering that name. The Vindicator is able to call upon the echoes of this unlikely alliance to deal massive damage while channeling Archimerus, or provide support when switching to Saint Victor. This legendary stance allows you to wield Greatsword and replaces your standard dodge roll with an empowered leap, dodging attacks before crashing down onto your enemies to deal damage. In Visions of Eternity, the Revenant's connection to the Mist allows them to channel an actual Mist's-born creature, known only as Raza, to become a conduit for its strange powers. Freed from Abaddon's imprisonment, Raza now lends its cosmic wisdom to either enhance your other powers or debilitate your foes as you slam down with your sight. Switching gears to one of my favorite professions, we're taking a look at the Engineer. We'll be talking explosives, elixirs, guns, gadgets, grenades, all in all absolute mayhem, as these thinkers dominate the battlefield with their weapons of destruction or support their allies with their tools. For the standard Engineer, these tools are kept on their tool belt, a unique mechanic to the Engineer, allowing them to access an array of engineering kits. There was never a need for field engineers more than when Mordremoth decided to bankai the entire allied fleet, leaving nothing but mechanical scrap littering the jungle in the Heart of Thorns expansion. The scrappers quickly made do with the parts left behind to construct gyros that could cut or burn through the brush while focusing on assisting their allies with healing and boons. Oh, and did you say massive steampunk hammer? No? Well, I did. Things get really hot though with the Path of Fire expansion, where the Holosmith learns to use the Photon Forge to craft weapons made from the literal light of the sun. They can wield a sword in their main hand and overheat their forge to augment their abilities. The hotter the forge, the more damage, though you'll want to be careful with exactly how hot you make it. Turning tragedy into gain, Kantha has used Jade to further their civilization, and you bet that engineers jumped on this technology the first chance they got. The Mechanists wield a giant mace as they command their very own Jade mech. No longer any use for their tool belt, they now let this absolute unit do all the heavy lifting for them. And no, I won't mention how the Azura have been doing this for ages already, or how awesome it would be if we could customize the mech. Merging with the slime is probably top-tier fantasy for a lot of anime watchers, so good news, as the Amalgam, you can do just that. You know, I write all of my scripts myself and still thought, yep, this is what I'm going with. Azuran scientists have developed a new species of ooze that the Engineer can merge with, using their morph skills to adapt to the battlefield's needs. Blunt weapon, instant shield, or quick getaway, you got it. One of the staple classes in any RPG has to be the Ranger, but don't worry, ArenaNet has some unique ideas on this profession specializations, so don't go anywhere. The core Ranger is just what you'd expect, a defender of nature that tames and trains animal companions. Not just a bow wielder though, you'll be able to use other weapons like the greatsword, sword, axes, and even set some traps to take down your prey. Setting foot in the Maguma jungle, these defenders of nature bonded with the strange and powerful energies of Tyria in a new and unique way. As druids, they're able to wield a staff and cast glyphs, calling upon the power of the heavens to channel restorative magic, and even enter a celestial state to heighten their abilities. As Path of Fire gave us a host of beasts to use as mounts, it also made rangers connect with theirs on a deeper level. Soulbeasts can become one with their partnered animal, focusing on a more melee damaging approach. Their weapon of choice becomes the dagger, symbolizing the direct threat they can now cause on the battlefield as they merge with their companion pet and strike at their foes. The Echovald Forest is ripe with unbridled power and ancient magics, which the Untamed have learned to channel. Wielding a hammer, they can cast cantrips to hinder their foes as they channel power into their pets. Once the enemy is weakened, this power is juggled back to the Ranger to deliver a final, devastating blow. After the Tyrian alliance defended the reclusive Tengu against Primordus and Jormag, these feathery masters of the wind decided to share their knowledge with those willing to learn the Galeshot craft. Able to harness the power of the wind itself to form a bow, Galeshots build up arrows in combat and can use these to finish off their targets with powerful skills. Launch yourself with the whirlwind, summon a raging tornado, or simply chill your foes. Galeshots are masters of the wind and bow, able to position themselves for the perfect shot. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the thief is not a rogue. But close though. Slip in and out of stealth to ambush unsuspecting foes, stealing makeshift weapons from their pockets to gain the upper hand. Daggers, swords, short bows, a master of shadow and assassination as you use initiative points to fuel your attacks before the enemy even knows what hit them. Even the very nature of the Maguma jungle was treacherous enough to have the already agile thieves consider training even further. The Daredevil gained a third endurance bar to help dodge the grasping tendrils, leaping from one spot to the other. Daredevils excel at mobility and damage, even using their fists to assail their foes, before finishing them off with their staff. It's definitely giving monk. There, now even Gen Z has to like the video. The open dunes of Alona made it difficult for thieves to get in close range without being spotted, so they traded in their steel for long-range tactics as the Deadeye. These mercenaries for hire wield a rifle and mark their targets for assassination, building up malice to increase the damage they deal to their target. Is it still stealing if the target is dead, or is it transfer of ownership? Witnessing the death of his friend Master Togo, the assassin Panaku vowed to use his powers over the shadow in defense of his allies. Wielding a scepter, he became the first Spectre and was able to link his own shadow to his enemies, draining their life force in order to bolster his allies. Now these teachings are passed on in Xingje Monastery for all willing thieves. Enter Shadow Shroud and lay down wells of pure shadow magic to heal and support your allies while debilitating your foes. It's difficult for me to describe the Antiquarians and not mention Indiana Jones, but I'll try. Specializing in stealing prized artifacts, just like Indiana— God damn it. With Lion's Arch's pirate council blurring the lines between commerce and smuggling, some thieves boast of a wealth of artifacts that they can use to strike at their foes. Along with the Skrit companion, these thieves now have access to double-edged abilities, where timing is essential as they can backfire. Though timed right, will have them unleash their full potential. One of the more unique professions in Guild Wars 2, I've always compared the Mesmer to the Esper from Wildstar, where you can use your psychic abilities to create illusions strong enough to actually damage your enemies. Assault your foes with mind tricks, create clones that rush your target, and shatter them to deal extra damage. The Mesmer isn't for the weak-minded, but a deadly force when used properly. Time is an illusion, and especially for the Chronomancer, who is able to bend it to its will. Creating wells of pure time distortion, they can speed up their allies' skills, or slow down their foes to get the upper hand. The shield they now carry is often imbued with clockwork or hourglasses, tools used to measure the time as they change the outcome of a battle simply by altering the timeline. Grant quickness and alacrity to your allies, or devastate your foes by summoning illusions that go back in time to strike again. Wandering the desert heat might make you see things that aren't there. Aptly named, the Mirage cloaks themselves in the desert sands, sending whirling axes at their foes as they dance from illusion to illusion. You no longer need a dodge roll, as your Mirage cloak builds up, allowing you to move quicker and confound your foe before you ambush for the final strike. In Dungeons & Dragons we have the Soul Knife. In Guild Wars 2 we have the Virtuoso. Using the power of their mind, they imagine daggers that they can use to strike at their foes from afar. Wielding a dagger as the main weapon, the studies at Xingje have taught the Mesmer to forgo trickery and create illusionary clones of their weapon, which they can wield telepathically and send flying towards their foes. We were all thinking it, and we were all waiting for it as well. The Bard class, or Troubadour profession. Young though they are, many Sylvari have a love for travel and tale spinning, learning to actively lift the spirits of their companions and dissuade their foes by playing musical instruments while regaling tales of infamous figures. No longer casting illusions, the troubadours focus on using their music and tales to grant boons or demoralize enemies before their resounding orchestra comes to a crescendo. Are you the type of person that doesn't want to die in your games? Then the Necromancer might be your go-to. Not because they literally feed off of life force to damage their foes and prolong their own survivability. No, because they have 4 bloody health bars with their Death Shroud. Summon undead minions to do your dark bidding, use signets to enhance your own abilities, or overwhelm your opponents with conditions as you laugh maniacally. As a harbinger of death, Reapers wield a massive greatsword, becoming a melee combatant, harvesting life force to fuel their Reaper's Shroud, while chilling their foes. In Reaper's Shroud, they wield a massive scythe, able to bring opponents to their inevitable end. Many travelers have lost their life in the unforgiving sands of the Alolan Desert, and the Scourge has taken notice. Using their own life force to bring these shades into battle, they forego the protective power of their shrouds to instead use these shades to bolster their allies and doom their foes. They wield a torch in their offhand, lighting the path to the mists for their victims after they've corrupted their boons into debilitating conditions. Necromancers are masters of death with many tools at their disposal, but do you know which is the best one? You're wrong, it's a gun. Harbingers have learned to use the magical properties of jade to fuel their alchemical concoctions and bullets to erode their opponent's life force. Using the Harbinger's Shroud to empower their attacks and mobility, they suffer from blight all the same, balancing their own life and power to that of their opponents. It's a dangerous life in the West. Wait, Kantha is south, right? Also originating in Kantha, the Ritualist is one of Tyria's oldest professions. Even before the actual worship of the gods, Ritualists were able to summon ancestral spirits to guide them, though they rely more on a mutual respect as opposed to regular necromancy. Turn your life force into health, summon spirits, and mark your enemies as you blast them with otherworldly barrages, aided by your summoned spirits. Okay, look, I can't talk about this profession and then not do this. I apologize. Water, earth, fire, and air. Long ago, the guilds lived together in harmony, but when the raid needed them the most, the Elementalist was downed again. Utilize the elements to wreak havoc on your enemies, sacrificing physical toughness for damage. Conjure elemental weapons, summon storms, or even elemental minions as you blast your foes apart. With Mordermoth's immediate threat as they headed into the Maguma jungle, Elementalists dug deep into their connection with the elements, learning how to overload their attunement. Wielding a warhorn in their offhand, Tempests are nature's fury incarnate, as they specialize in devastating large groups of enemies while bolstering and even healing their allies, bringing a mix of large area of effects as well as group support. None command the elements as well as the Alonian Djinn, being to elementals as humans are to other animals. The Weaver took note of this, studying the Djinn's mastery of the elements, and is now able to weave 2 elements together. Dancing in and out of combat while they wield a sword, the Weaver adopts stances that grants them bonuses depending on which 2 elements they weave together, whether you go Bruiser or Glass Cannon. Difficult to master, but worth the effort. Once protectors of the Kanthan Empire of the Dragon, Catalysts channeled their elemental powers into Jade Spheres, building up to unleash a devastating force onto their enemies. Wielding a hammer to control this raw power, the unleashed force takes the form of Kanthan Celestials. Elemental power whirls around the Catalyst, ready to be augmented to increase damage of the stored element or provide boons to their allies. In order to help the spirits of the wild heal, as many of them suffered at the hands, claws of Jormag, the Norn shaman started sharing their wisdom with others. The Evoker took exceedingly well to these teachings, able to summon elementally attuned animal familiars to aid them in battle. Fox, hare, toad, and otter. Yes, an otter companion. These familiars grant meditation abilities to the Evoker, as well as power up their basic attacks into an empowered ability. With all of this, I hope you were able to figure out which profession suits your needs the most. Let me know what your favorite profession is. You can also check out this beginner's guide if you want some extra tips to help you get started. But as always, have fun and take care, my friends. Bye-bye.